The next Isle update is bringing 4 brand new dinosaurs into the roster, each one offering unique playstyles and ways of play to the community, and so far all of them seem to live up to the expectations and high standards Afterthought is known for. Even Cerato got its damage mitigation, completely fixing the issue that made me release the latest video, so all of them appear to be in an excellent state right now. But anyway, moving on. 2 of them in particular are amongst the smallest members we have currently available, namely Beipi and Troodon, with the latter being so small that it could be easily mistaken by a compy. And that reminded me. Dinosaurs on the smaller side always had this strange stigma. They were pretty much always perceived in very extreme perspectives. There's always 2 completely different opinions about them. The opinion that they are utterly useless and the opinion that they are absolutely adorable. But where did this strong divide come from in the first place? Is them being useless even an accurate statement? It is a frequent and consistent complaint that X small tier dino is bad or unnecessary, mostly due to their size, regardless of their individual mechanics. Troodon is a great example of such phenomenon. A pack-hunting dinosaur, the first venomous predator coming to Evrima no less, possessing a rather complex system that requires good teamwork and coordination. This should be taken as a great addition to the game, and yet the majority of the fanbase isn't all that interested in it, or most small dinosaurs for that matter. Obviously there are people that are very excited for each species including Troodon, but there's a noticeable discrepancy between small tier and the rest of the roster, and that makes me wonder, why is that the case? This situation is a lot more noticeable in the Isle in comparison to other games like Path, due to the sheer number of small creatures the Isle has, with 4 available at the moment and many more planned for future release. So first let's analyze the specific dinosaurs to see if we can find the answer. At their core, small tier dinos share many similarities with each other. They are all super small, obviously, they are all very fragile, weak when it comes to combat, and are either extremely fast or extremely agile, with most of their exclusive mechanics supporting or enhancing those aspects. This is all fine though. An agile, squishy dinosaur is a perfectly viable and common playstyle. There's a significant portion of the player base that enjoy playing characters like those, so that can't be the main factor. Being this small and susceptible to damage also influences players to play more cautiously, while also increasing the level of danger of pretty much anything around them, increasing the thrill of every action small dino players do. There's a substantial portion of the community that really likes the excitement of hiding or running away of something that can easily kill them, a similar experience we can find in horror games, and since this is a multiplayer environment, that feeling can be shared with others, making it even more appealing. So why is there such a huge divide within the fanbase when it comes to this specific tier of dinosaurs? One significant contributor to this situation is something that we just considered. All small tiers share the same core characteristics, small, weak and agile, and that is exactly the problem. They lack variety. While their playstyle is not problematic in isolation, the fact that they are all a different flavor of the same way of play is what gives them this seemingly controversial reputation. B-tiers have all sorts of archetypes that rarely overlap with each other. We have dinosaurs that are slow but hit hard, fast and hit hard, slow but tanky, fast and squishy, slow but runs for a long time, fast but in short bursts. Mid-tiers have immense variety, offering players with a multitude of stats and mechanics that provide an enjoyable experience to most players, no matter what your taste is. Small tiers unfortunately don't have that luxury. You either like quick and fast animals, or you need to pick something else. They all do different things to an extent. Some can dodge, others can burrow, blind their predator, climb walls. they all have unique mechanics, but at the same time, they all have pretty much the same advantages and disadvantages when it comes to movement and constitution. This in turn makes small tiers extremely limited when it comes to playstyle, and sadly, due to the game's nature, they are forced to be this way. In a game with such a strong focus on realism, having creatures that small doing unexpected things would be immersion breaking and remove the sense of disbelief players have while playing, decreasing the overall level of enjoyment. Seeing an animal easily kill a creature 10 times larger, or a dinosaur not dying by an attack of a species 15 times heavier would be vastly unrealistic. Not to mention that it would massively affect the game's balance in a negative way, so in the end, not only small tiers are designed very similarly, they are also enforced by the game itself to be similar. As a consequence, this puts small tiers at a disadvantage, since with so many similar choices, people will usually pick the most optimal one and ignore the rest, or even not pick any of them at all and choose a mid-tier instead. But this issue also exists due to another factor, and that is the sheer number of small tiers the game has once we take into account the full planned roster. Out of the roughly 60 species planned, 15 of them are smaller than omnis, and omnis are already small tier, mind you, being so many and overlapping so much in terms of playstyle that several of them have the same exclusive mechanic. That is unnecessary and a disservice to the species they are recreating. There's no need for them to either be so similar and to be so many. The game doesn't need 15 dinosaurs smaller than a person. They are simply bloating the roster while adding absolutely no benefit to the game as a whole. Having fewer dinos of that size would not only erase the problem, but it would also add more relevance to each individual species, increasing their uniqueness and design value. Path of Titans is actually a great example of this solution working. Even though it has the biggest roster out of the 3 main dinosaur survival games on the market, Path managed to add only a very few selection of small dinos into their game, and as a consequence, each individual creature stands out a lot more than it would if there were many creatures of similar size. The reduction of small tier dinos is also a great opportunity for developers to enhance the growth experience, especially during the juvenile stages. Growing in these games is by far one of the most boring and frustrating parts of the player's experience, spending hours with nothing to do other than eat, walk and hide from predators. By having less small species to design specific niches, those niches could instead be used on juvenile specimens instead. For example, Hypsis and Herreras, 2 very small animals able to climb trees. And while Herrera on its own does not overlap all that much with the rest of the mini dinos, if we removed it and added the tree climb ability to juvenile megalanids instead, for example, not only would make Hypsis more relevant gameplay wise because they would be the only small tier with that mechanic, it would also enhance Megalania's growth process and make it both more dynamic and enjoyable, giving Juvie Megs an exclusive ability and a playstyle that their adult versions don't have access to, having a niche while they are still growing, which will eventually dissipate and be replaced by their adult niche. This would create a separate ecosystem exclusive to small tier dinos and juveniles of larger species, drastically improving what is arguably the worst part of the game. In fact, this idea is so good and so beneficial for the Isle that the devs themselves already planned on doing exactly that with Megalania, showcased in the animal's concept art months ago. On the brighter side of things, unlike the apex problems we had in Legacy and will have in Evrima by the looks of it, the issues small tiers face only affect themselves and not the entire game, so at least it's not detrimental to the Isle in its entirety, although a problem is still a problem. In the end, even though small tiers are not the community's favorite bunch of dinos, what's most important is you enjoying playing as them, and if you do, then that's all that matters. But with these changes, small dinosaurs would not only be better perceived by the community, but also improve one of the biggest flaws this genre has. A huge thank you to my Patreon supporters for supporting the channel and the content I create. If you want to join the ranks, you can do so for only $1 a month, the link will be in the description. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and opinions down below, join our Discord server for memes and Pelerinut stuff, and I hope to see you all next week.